俺の足はアスファルトを離れ鳥になる場合。
Hey, what is up, everyone? We are back, and finally can say that it's time to finish up 2300 AD.
お祭り見てくるんだな。
Looks like we got a lot of notes here. Let's go over them real quick. In 2300, the Porian remnant rules the world, oppressing all other remaining humans and exterminating mutants. Okay, I think this one could be good. Where's Dad at? Please be this one. Yes. What else does it say? 2300 feels like a hyped up finale. It's a rich, satisfying map to explore with lots of detail, especially if you can get into Chronopolis. Talking about Chronopolis, are you? Getting in's not easy, but the facility holds the answers to some big questions. Big questions like what? Videos shed a light on some of the series' biggest mysteries. Big mysteries like what? Countertime experiment, cloning. The weird state of the Chronopolis workers. What are they doing? Who are they? Are they real? What are they? And then Dark Moon events, which is the name that I assigned to the only Dark Moon event we've seen is when the planet pulls Dinopolis into our dimension. This is the Polis War. But you might have remembered that the planet counterbalanced Chronopolis's presence in the past by pulling Dinopolis into the same dimension. And that also brought the other moon with it. So that's why I use the word Dark Moon events. Let's take a look at the next notes. Okay, this is going to be about crossing over the plains. For instance, you have this map. Pardon me, that is not the map that I wished to show. Alright, so here is a map, roughly 2300. It's a bit janky, but we can use it for our purposes. And these notes say that eventually, hold on. I'm making some mistakes, but I'm figuring it out. I got it now. It's this particular one. Eventually, there's nothing left to do but cross these planes and figure out what lays beyond in this singularity. All right. And finally, we have these notes. Spooky with no music. And we'd like to make these into a short story about how the birth was, not the birth, how the overworld was made by the Vision Serpent. So I'm going to set all that up because it did not go according to how I thought it was going to go. But look at this. So this is the dragon god. But it's only actually the avatar, as they mention in Chrono Cross, that Surge fights. The real dragon god is a projection from the darkness beyond time. So I'm speculating that this might be closer to the actual dragon god. It's, I think, this weird cutscene at the end of Chrono Cross. I don't know, man. Very, very, very strange. So anyway, then as the story goes, fate kind of takes over. What do you mean as the story goes? We got the story notes right here. What's it say? In Chrono Cross, fate splintered the dragon god into lesser dragons. However, in this story, she does not split the dragon, but enslaves the one dragon god, and she becomes the Vision Serpent, which looks kind of like this. There's two forms that I imagined. You got the weird Cronenberg-esque integrated form, thusly, and then perhaps a rider form where Fate's avatar thing is sort of clinging onto the dragon god. Now keep in mind this is the avatar version. It might be the true version. So I'm not really sure. But those are that's just a draft. Okay, I'm going to set up. Sorry, we already saw that. That was about 700. I'm going to get back and review everything later for the final video, but for now, let's keep talking about this. So the mutants are kind of like being oppressed in the future. They're not bad. In the end of the day, mutants are not bad. I think any of the X-Men movies would back me up on that. I've got to say, I'm genuinely curious, though. Why is this... Oh, I see. Here we go. Alright, 2300 feels like a hyped up finale. It's a rich, satisfying map to explore. I think we already covered that. Oh. Lava spawn. Excuse me. Let me say that more correctly. Lavos spawn are everywhere. Everywhere. So this is kind of after the world has been propagated to maximum destruction. Remember, on the Dalton corrupted timeline, the Day of Lavos took place way early in 900. So imagine how big those Lavi boys would be right now. Lavos people, Lavos bits. Here we go. I got one, especially for it. That should have worked, but it didn't. What's going on? Alright, fine. Fine. I bring all my preparations, and then it fails me. Here we go. It's a dangerous world, overrun by these deadly creatures. There are many new forms of Lavos spawn, so they would have had 400 years by now to live on the planet. Look how big that one is. Huge. Huge. Okay, let's switch over. What would be our next note? Defeat Dalton at Death Peak. Despite his madness, he lives among powerful Lavospawn. Lavospawn, and wields a corrupted Masamune. Creepy, dude. Creepy. Remember, this 2300 is actually further from the Day of Lavos than 1020. Or it's further from the Day of Lavos than the 2300 that we knew in Chrono Trigger. So that's why it's light outside. It's actually not as destroyed as it could be. And that is why I applied a brightness filter to this particular, I think it's called, hey, should it be called Donny Boy? Here, Done Time. Oh, that's not it, is it? Oh yeah, that's it. That's got the brightness filter applied. So there's that. And what notes are relevant for this one? Defeat the Porian Remnant. Stop the meaningless attacks on the mutants and the other freedom fighters. So, essentially you got Doan here and his squad. And in this version of events, they're actually a lot more, like, what's the word? They're not so malnutritioned. They're more like freedom fighters. Because the Porian Remnant is exterminating the mutants and people who don't like get on board with them. As evidenced. By 2300, so it's kind of like when you get to 2300, you can go face Dalton, but it's sort of irrelevant. The main thing is the singularity now. We want to get there. We want to get to the break. We want to experience what the game has to offer. Which would be pretty much what Chrono Trigger had to offer. The main thing is not to go too hard on the story here. We all know that Chrono Trigger was amazing, so we're not trying to add too much except for combat. We just want more combat. We just want a world to play in and wrapping up the storylines. And trying to connect the wildly imaginative Chrono Cross to Chrono Trigger and fix it up. There's something called the unconscious theory of storytelling and the search for resonance. Hey, what's this say? Oh, this is a secret one. Hold on. Let's do this. Alright. I'm ready. So what happens if you go back to, everyone says we've been duly warned that if you go to 2300, you won't be able to return. That's like a thing that's been duly explained. But why? Because it's part of the break. But why? I think that's coming next episode. To be honest, I completely lost my place. What were we talking about? Oh yeah. So you can't go back from 2300, right? Oh, don't read that part yet. So if you try to go back to the end of time, because Melchior and Gasper are both like, there's no return from 2300. I've got the file to prove it. Look at this. See? I told you. There's something going on I don't understand. No guarantee of a return trip. They both know that you're not coming back. So if you try to get back, then an interesting thing will happen. Go back to the end of time to find it very different. Here we go. Hold on, I definitely need to pause this. Okay. It's climactic. Go back to the end of time to find it very different. Alright, I'm going to do it like this. I don't want to read it again, but I have to. Go back to the end of time from 2300 to find it very different. The architecture is similar but skewed, reminiscent of the bend of time. Does everyone remember that? In Chrono Cross? Bend of time? Ooh, what's this spooky stuff? Weird, that was never behind there before. Well, if this place was indeed ever in use, it has long since been decommissioned. I think we can take that part out, because you can see here that there's actually quite a lively, weird event happening. There's a tavern beyond the door. In Specchio's room, you'll find this tavern. But actually, oh, spoiler. Actually, if you go up the stairs, Oh, wait. Ah, there's the... Hold on. Okay, let's just finish this, and then I gotta show something funny. In Specchio's room, you will find Pico and Janice standing ready to fight if you approach. That's if you approach. They're not going to mess with you if you don't approach. That's one of the themes of the game, actually. Arbitration. Janice speaks for Pico. Like, Pico can communicate with his psychics, and he can also talk through Janice. From the planet's viewpoint, humans are destroyers and a cursed and perhaps pathetic blight on the world. That's kind of paraphrased from a Chronopolis worker. You don't really need to, like, worry about that. I don't know if that dialogue would actually be in there. However, there is something that I got to show you now. So, please do not knock my amazing representation of Pico. This is... Here, check this one out. This is just the moody intro to build the hype, build the mood. And then we get into trying to remake... Okay, so like I mentioned, a lot of this was inspired by Simon S. Andersen, you know, his Chrono Break trailer. And in that trailer, you have Pico. Let's just watch that. But we're going to watch the... Someone did a remixed version. Here, let's watch the remixed one. Okay. That melts everyone's mind. And so, like I said, a lot of this game was inspired by this trailer. So here you have this person who Simon S. Andersen created. It's kind of like a Lavos core. If you watch the, like most of this, the early part of this series, this project was a movie that I made that just, explained that trailer. And that is, man, the 3-part series on the channel. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. What I want to talk about is how here we have Pico, created by Simon S. Andersen. And so I got to find a way to recreate him, because this animation style, although cool, is not in the 8-bit or 16-bit that we need. So here's the process of me trying to figure that out. And I will say that I pretty much feel like it's okay to scrap this entire design. But at least you know what I was going for. I was trying to get the same as Simon S. Andersen's creature. All right, here we go. We already saw that. Like I mentioned, this is the intro to build the hype. He's 1 part Xelian scholar. 1 part unknowable Lovecraftian hell god, as Lavos is. And then I use Johnny's side pieces here to try to... This might actually have been time-lapse too fast, but I used the sprite by Crystallized Chaos. He did the King's Eel and Queen Shala, so that's how we ended up with this sprite. At any rate, this harkens back to Chrono Trigger, where if you can fight Lavos from the very beginning. So if you get to 2300 and you turn around and try to go back to the end of time, that's the result. You'll end up having to deal with, you can meet them here. So that would be 700. That's a pretty cool shot from the trailer. Okay. Let's get back to our notes. I think we've covered all these notes. This is stuff you can do in 2300. So this one is good to go. Fantastic. Alright, we already talked about this. So, the first part of the game is just a 3 time zone warm-up to get you into the break, and that's where everything changes. The first part will be very Chrono Trigger, and then after that it'll still be Chrono Trigger, but there'll just be no... There's 2 more ways you can affect the map, 2 more story gates, but basically you're at the end game, and then it becomes just like a self-perpetuating combat game where you level up your characters and do different story stuff. For instance, what's this one say? Auto-quested parties may run alongside you on the map. So for every arbiter you have, you can control 3 people. And that's surely just a gameplay move. Of course, unless you destroy the frozen flame, then you can have a no arbiter mode. If you're just joining us, that'll be confusing, but it's been done we've talked about it a lot in the past. It's a big principle of the game. So every arbiter can take a party of 3. And you can also have guests and Jiminy Crickets. Sorry, trying to find the correct. Oh, we're gonna find it. Here it is. Arbiters lead parties of 3. However, auto-quested units and guests can come along. Take different combination of characters to explore storytelling possibilities. Alright, so you're running across the map, and everyone can run with you. And if you have 13 characters and 2 arbiters, then you're going to have 6 controllable characters and 7 auto-quested, which would be like a simplified version of Final Fantasy XII's Gambit system. Simplified for just running across the map RPG style. Because the main thing is that you want to feel like you're out there adventuring together. For instance, if you were to perhaps be in a location and get in trouble with one party, call for help, and then somewhere way across the map, the other squad with the epoch is able to come in and meet up, and then you've got your own combat going on. So time gates in the break are actually more just like space gates because time's broken. So they're sort of just teleporters. So you can run with your squad, but if you want to go through a time gate, then you got to go 3 by 3, which means that there'll be a delay. When you get to the other side of the time gate, they can go 3 by 3 and you can get your other team following you, but it's going to take an indeterminate delay. You know, like Magus got to Zeal and became the prophet. That probably took weeks or months. And then Chrono arrived in Zeal shortly after they fought Magus. So it means that when you go into a blue gate, there's some time variance. Even if someone follows right behind you, it might be a while. So as far as a gameplay mechanic goes, it would be like if you're running across the map, you go into a time gate, and then only 3 can go. The others can follow 3 by 3, but it's going to take a while. So if you zoom to a part with, more challenging enemies, then you might have to survive for a while before your squad shows up. And that would really reinforce the whole thing of the other teams are out there backing you up, and it feels amazing when, other characters that you've previously leveled up suddenly arrive to bail you out of trouble. Or you get a distress call and you go bail out characters that you've leveled up out of trouble who are auto-questing. It would just be amazing. It would provide an infinite source of map traveling reasons for combat. So now we'll get to before we get to one of the most controversial parts of my idea for a game here. I do really want to stress this one again. One moment. I'll find it. Here we go. So this would not be like a traditional RPG. You know, you've got the intro quest, but you can basically get to an open world style questing interface pretty fast. So one run could last infinity if you have a scenario that you really like, characters who you recruited that you want, no one's been damaged, all of your side quests are done, or because of the ancestral elements, you've got the ability to, you know, it's made to be replayed. Just use the ancestral elements and restart the game if it's bad. And then you can play back to where you were pretty quick. And you can build it up, build it up. Sorry, I forgot that one had music. So, basically, in a game that's replayable and meant to be replayed for different story options, then you'll understand why I thought it would be a good move to go ahead and include this particular item, which got me in big trouble with a few commenters, but and you didn't see that yet. Here we go. Loss. If a party member falls, you gotta revive them soon, or it's Final Fantasy Tactics style, that unit is gone forever. So, given the traditional Chrono format, I can understand permadeath would be maniacal, obscene, and upsetting. But given the let's throw it all away, leave the past behind vibe of this style of a game, that's not trying to live up to Chrono Trigger, it's trying to be light. It's not trying to be Chrono Trigger, it's just trying to be Chrono Trigger if you could fight forever and the story didn't matter so much. Anyway, so that's why there would be permadeath, because you could just restart if you got into a scenario you didn't like. And then if all arbiters are eliminated, then you game over. However, let's say that you have unlocked, who are your arbiters? You've got a fairly decent squad here of people that may have become arbiters in one shape or form. But the only playable ones are Kid and Gil. It's ambiguous which one of them is an arbiter. Your boy Serge, perhaps Sergey, Jala, and Nadia. You can get arbiter status a couple different ways. I don't want to super get sidetracked on this again, on the arbiter thing. I feel like I always get stuck in that. But basically, say you've unlocked all the arbiters, then I would suggest that when you game over, Your next game would start at the starting scenario of whichever arbiter you had last. Just to create some kind of continuity. Just to give it like a weird feeling of holdover from game to game. So you've got, Surge has his own starting scenario. Kid and Gil start together. Then, of course, you could redo the Yeah, so there could be like a soup drinking thing. And also, more importantly, it would be like perhaps mashing the soup drinking button would decide the stats of the, your cave squad that you got. There's a lot of places it could go, but it's important to reiterate that this is a game meant to be replayed. There are story elements in there, but you don't have to go digging for them. It took a lot to connect all the dots between the wide net that Chrono Cross cast and Chrono Trigger. It took a lot. For instance, if I may please reference this. User comment. As they said, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but the plot you came up with is absurdly convoluted in a way only a Chrono game could be. I feel like the needless complexity of the Chrono games adds a certain charm that shows the developers were really passionate about what they were doing, even if their target audience may not comprehend all of it. It's not a criticism, etc. And I agree. Like the Dusk of Time movie is it's super complicated, and all of the backstory is super complicated. But what's the most important part is that it's important the game makes sense and feels cohesive, even if you've never played Chrono Cross or Chrono Trigger. Very rarely is there an overt, on-the-nose explanation of what happened, but there are answers if you dig for them. And the focus is on first-time players having gameplay-focused adventure, unburdened by the heavy weight of past events. Like, if you want to go dig into the storyline, that's fine. But if you don't, basically all you're doing is fighting, trying to find the guy that you got separated from at the beginning, which you would have some, his name's Chrono, so you'd assume he's got some importance. This could be for people who never even heard of Chrono Trigger. But then when you dig in, all those dots got connected. Alright, so we're back to figuring out how to cross the plains. Essentially, bikes. Booyah. It's not really what I was hoping for, since it's got the white background, but I guess it's okay. Just ignore it for now. Let's talk about the notes. What does it say? Oh. In the future, jet bikes are everywhere. The only question is, will they work? Good question. So you're trying to cross this part. You're trying to cross the plains to get to the singularity. Here you go. And essentially, jet bikes are the best. Let's see what the notes say. Oh, that's our jet bike. We already seen that. Or you could run. Like I mentioned, you can run, but check this out. Running. This is an awful looking background for this. Okay, this is only slightly better. Let's do this one. Because I imagine that there'd be mass devastation. Basically, I gotta have to make it big, be legible. Oopsies. Alright, running across the plains with everyone is possible, but not recommended. You're guaranteed to lose party members using this method. And how come? Why? That's the question. It is because of what is happening in the plains. And it looks something like this. Originally had ideas about calling them the Thunder Plains as a Final Fantasy X reference. I think that's fine. The plains, the Thunder Plains. But essentially you've got these huge these god-awful things converging. Laser beam strikes raining down from the heavens. So you got to get a bike to cross it. And what is this? This is Fate destroying the Tower of Geddon in Chrono Cross. And essentially hold on a second. RPG meets roguelike. That's the ticket, baby. We're not trying to go full on Chrono Trigger again. Oh, that's a good one. Let me backtrack that. Can we hear what you do if you made a sequel? The sense of dancing you get from exploring Toriyama's worlds is more difficult to capture than I initially thought. But if we can channel that, we get a fantastic sequel. Nice. Here we go. Finally. Sorry about that. Alright, let's get back over to this one. This is a list of all of the Vision Serpent's powers. It would essentially be Fate plus the Dragon God. But anyway, check this one out. This is the most important. This is the reason why it would be called the Thunder Plains and why it's so hard to cross into the singularity. Because Fate, in the break, the Vision Serpent is doing transdimensional attacks on anyone coming close to the vicinity of the singularity where they could cross into her domain. Bubble Bobby 2000 notes that the eruptions that converge at the Tower of Geddon to destroy the Dead Sea stem from 3 points, which could exist at the ends of an equilateral triangle, thus matching the 3 islands which guard Chronopolis in the opposite dimension. This suggests that Fate destroyed the Tower of Geddon from across dimension. So we're going to go with this theory that Bubble Bobby came up with. She can attack transdimensionally. So if you're trying to cross those planes, you're essentially getting these laser beams raining down on you. So what is the best way to cross? Complicated. You don't really want to run. We just talked about that. Running's going to end in fatality. Which is fine. If you want to just kind of... Here we go. The speed and widespread availability of jet bikes make them the best choice. You could essentially, if you have 13 or 15 guys, you could find 5 bikes eventually and get on there. Okay. Oopsies. I meant to loop that. You could also do aircraft. There are many flying vehicles in the future. Perhaps a few of them may even be operational. That doesn't have to include the Epoch. Repeat. It doesn't have to only be the Epoch. Like, you could, if you have 6 guys, I don't really know how it would work, but you could have multiple aircraft if you can find working aircraft. You're in the future, after all. Okay, let's get to the real bread and butter of what I want to talk about. And this goes with when you're doing the bike, given the total freedom of the game, theoretically, Robo could be gone by this point. Could have already lost him, but the story would continue. So let's say you don't even have Robo, okay? You got Princess Nadia because you need an arbiter in the party, at least for the first couple playthroughs. And if you bring her, you've also got, you know, the bonus of the pendant rewind to deal with the transdimensional stuff. That's nice. Okay. Just as a reminder on the pendant, it was kind of based on like this weird throwaway line from Chrono Trigger where they say that Kid, the infant baby, had a pendant and she could use it to rewind time to a safer point. Like, okay. Well, that certainly seems like it should have got more attention. So the key item of the pendant is a great way to mitigate the difficulty of the early game. It does take up an equipment slot, so it's like I said, good for early game. Later on, maybe not so much. Strong bosses. Yeah, here's the quote. This is what I mean when I say I'm trying to connect the dots. It's like part 2 kind of threw out a lot of crazy ideas that require a little bit of imagination to connect the original. So, but if they're going to supply you with this quote, then a third game would have to use this mechanic. It's on the table. I forgot what we were talking about though. Oh, we were talking about who to bring. So yeah, if you're trying to cross, you've got her and the pendant, which are not attached anymore. But somehow, I don't know where the pendant went. That's okay. But let's say that your average person with a heart is not going to continue playing if they lost Robo already. So, in all honesty, you'll probably have a Robo as well. Who's about this big, I'd imagine. That doesn't really look super good. But I'm going to fix it later anyways. So he's got boost. He can boost the bike a little bit better. So this is another way that we would use certain characteristics of characters to push forward narratives that favor, you know, the traditional first playthrough or the traditional or quote ideal sort of playthrough. You don't have to bring Robo with you, but if you bring him, you get the increased boost, so you might as well. I'll talk a lot more about that later. And so if you do that and you wrap up, defeat the Vision Serpent, then finally you're in the break, which would operate more on like this sort of mechanic, like a territory capture mechanic with time gates and such. And this 1020 is just the tutorial. That's what we're looking at now. A refresh of all that stuff. Anyway, that's pretty much all I think. I think we covered everything that we needed to show for today. Let me just double check that. Oh, there's one more. So before you cross into the plains, you've got the last campfire. Can't miss the iconic Chrono Trigger imagery during the last campfire before attempting to enter the Singularity. This save point is a memorable staging ground for the player's journey into a new world. And there's... Make final arrangements, bring everyone with you, or order some of your party to stay behind. Maybe you'll be able to come back for them later. Maybe not. Alright, that is where we stand for now. I'm going to leave it there for today, and then I'm going to post a video soon that has all of the final 2300 stuff. It's been a pleasure. Oh, that. Thanks for joining me. Let me find my ending screen appropriately. Let's see, what ending should we do? Happy ending? Sad ending? Let's do happy ending.